And here we are. Welcome to episode 2 of We Live in Color. This platform is for our Black LGBTQIA community members and allies. We're so excited to be here today. But before we even get into today's episode, which is called Taking Black Pride and Reclaiming Our Time, I got to shout out my community members. I don't know if y'all heard the news. Yes, it's Pride Month, but we got Pride over here too. And we won an Emmy. Let's go to the clip.
At Converge, we have a live director from Saudi Arabia, a cinematographer from Montana, an editor from Mexico City. Hear me now, meaning that you don't have to be Black to uplift Black stories. One more time for the people in the back. You don't have to be Black to uplift Black stories. And I'm gonna tell you, you don't have to share skin tone or lived experience. You only have to share purpose.
And that purpose is here. I'm so grateful to be a part of this platform with all my brothers and sisters and non-binary people in this community. Converge is here. Shout out to Omari. Shout out to Trey. Shout out to Besa, our production team. Words can't even express how it felt to be on that stage. Because I was actually, even before starting this show, I was actually scheduled to be a presenter. So nothing felt better than to sit there with my community of all our beautiful stories, of all the work that we do to win the Governor's Award. And if you do not know what the Governor's Award is for the Emmys, yes, a real Emmy, you should Google it. I appreciate all of you community members, and we are Converge. And the best is yet to come. We're not asking for a table. We are building our mother. Oh, thank you. Now let's get to where we're at. Today, our show is called Taking Black Pride and Reclaiming Our Time. Our guests today are the representatives of Taking Black Pride. And if you don't know them, they will show you today on why they are here and how we can do a better job of showing up as opposed to actually being there. I have to say, even before we start the show, that they are the reason why We Are in Color even exists. When we talk about inclusivity, when we talk about safety, when we talk about not being performative and authentically showing up for community members, these community members are setting their own table. Let's check out the clip.
Wanna stand up, take my people with me.
I think we're seeing a lot of queer, trans, BIPOC people taking space, not asking for it, taking it, celebrating one another, validating one another, and doing so in a way that no Pride event I've ever been to has managed to pull off. I think that the way we have built equity into the infrastructure and praxis of this event is something that I don't see at Seattle Pride events, which are very corporate, right? It's give me your money, you're just gay, that's it. There's no acknowledging of the very complex identities that we have. And that's what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing people celebrate one another and love upon each other in a way that we don't get.
People are dancing, people are carefree, people are getting to know, like I said, getting to know new people, talking to people that they've never talked to. We have a lot of performers from out of state, so our local performers are getting to know those folks and forming connections, which is amazing. People are enjoying good food. We have folks out here, getting their needs taken care of. We have a lot of healing tents. We have people getting massages, getting cold foot baths. This event is important to the Seattle BIPOC, trans, and queer community, specifically because I think that Seattle and Seattle Pride type events often, siphon the talent, the labor, Black and brown trans folks of color, Black and brown queer folks, and this is really an event that, that gives back, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. And I think that a lot of the traditional Seattle Pride events, require us to give a lot of labor and they don't pour a lot back into us. And with this event, people are laboring, but it's a labor of love and they're getting so much more back into that cup. And so that's what we want. I think for our community, a lot of the barriers and a lot of the disparities that occur within the Black community and brown communities, but also within the LGBT community. All of those things are compounded and impact our community, you know, twice as much, 4 times as much, in some cases 6 times as much. And so, you know, I really feel like this is an event where we're centering ourselves, we're creating empowerment for ourselves, we're, you know, reaffirming that we matter, we're reaffirming that we exist, we're reaffirming our humanity.
Moment of silence as we have a dedication from one of our organizers for some of our queer community that we lost this year in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, we go through so much, and also, you know, when we die, I feel like it's an afterthought to sometimes our community, but also just like the general public.
We had some amazing folks in our community pass away. LL, Constance Blakely.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Honestly, I want people to know that, like, we're not out here, like, trying to be revolutionary. This is not a protest. This is literally trans people wanting to be with trans people, you know, and wanting to be with our community and wanting to find that community again after COVID, after being, you know, just away from each other for so long.
And so it's refreshing that we just have a sea of Black and brown folks, but in particular, Black trans folks feel safe. I think it's also like our security out here, you know, holding us down. I feel really great about that, just having those, between all of the collectives and folks who are here, having those connections to just make sure that, you know, we weren't expecting to have 50-ish people doing security, but they, you know, they just rallied for us in less than a week. So I feel full. I just feel so much. You know, sometimes I watch somebody perform or I see someone, I like get choked up because it's just, we haven't seen each other in a long time. And so it's difficult to just like not want to run up and, you know, go onto somebody. But I feel full and relief that it's starting. And no one kind of like showed up to harass us. And yeah.
So that is free for BIPOC, and then you can, if you want to check out merchandise and all, let us know.
There's so many people who are, you know, pissed off, like severely pissed off about reparations, and, you know, clearly we as a community can't give each other reparations. The general public, white people or whoever, can't give us reparations, but I don't think folks see that it was an insult for them to sit there and say that we're like pocketing the money, especially when this is community funded. This whole entire project is community funded, you know, especially last year, $27,000 in 2 weeks. I feel like that goes to plane tickets, that goes to hotels, that goes to so many things, that goes to paying for food. Not everybody donated and we're paying for that food, you know, that goes to, and the crazy thing is, I know, you know, I got a bag of money with me and that goes to the performers. So I literally pull from the reparations and give it to the performers. So it just feels like an insult. If only these folks that were here last year, then they would understand what the hell we were doing. Also, there's nothing wrong with getting funds from your community, even if it boggles my mind because we're the most marginalized, right? And folks are pissed off that like we're collecting money and they can't even ask us, where is it going? And once you answer the question, they're just like pissed off. I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, the whole thing around that is just like disrespectful.
They were going to do it again, and we're going to keep doing it, and they can stay mad about it.
And we're going to do it again, and they're going to stay mad about it. That was the line for me. Coming back, when we come back, we're going to be talking to the representatives of Taking Black Pride. You're here with We Live in Color with Deaunte Damper.
As a non-binary Black femme, a lot of my identity is rooted in body. Once the vaccine was introduced, it was really difficult to think in terms of safety as well as autonomy. As a Black American, the relationship with government is very complicated. It's hard to trust. A lot of these conspiracies are really impacting people making a decision, especially with Black folks, to be clear about what we're doing. I think it's just a well-rounded conversation to see what's best for us.
Hey there, it's Trey Holiday. And of course, Besa and I had to take a trip back to Market Street Shoes to grab some items. They always know what to show us. And let me tell you, we both spent quality time to be sure we collected some amazing additions to our wardrobes. They have some of the most unique bags, shoes, and accessories. I mean, the whole shebang. It's always a good time when I get to shop with my girl Besa. Make sure you go check out Market Street Shoes, y'all, and you too can walk out with some dope gear.
And we're back. Welcome back to We Live in Color. We are here with our wonderful guests. Guests, would you do me a favor and please introduce yourselves with your preferred pronouns?
I'm Ivana Anabalelli. My pronouns are they and them.
My name is Maddie, and my pronouns are also they, them.
So happy to have y'all here today.
Thank you.
And I mean, long time coming.
Yes.
And so appreciate y'all being here. But I have to start the conversation by asking, how did you get into this work?
Do you want to start?
Sure. I always like to say through protesting, like on the ground work through in Seattle. One day I saw someone holding a sign for Mike Brown, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I should, join in, jump in. And from there, it took off ever since. But most of my organizing career, I'd say half of it was just direct organizing, and then kind of got exhausting and tiring because I just felt like I was just putting my body on the line constantly, showing up to meetings and going to school, showing up to meetings, going to school, going to work all at the same time. It was so difficult. And no one ever kind of gave me that talk about burnout culture and putting a lot into your community and not getting things back. And so I took a break for a year and a half because I felt like folks weren't caring, and then came back once, I felt like folks started caring. And so I joined Queer the Land. And Queer the Land is something I'm a part of. It's a housing collective. So we just bought a 12-bedroom house in Beacon Hill. Yeah, it started because, we were wanting to combat gentrification. And we've attained our goal, got a house. And I felt like Queer the Land kind of focuses on relationship building. And that's kind of what drew me to the work, is relationship building and feeling like folks cared about someone like me. But yeah, so that's pretty much how I got involved.
Love that. And shout out to Queer the Land. We will be putting them in the chat. Maddie, what about you?
Yeah, similarly to Ivana, I got my start just organizing and protesting and just wanting to do more. I am one of the co-founders of Trans Women of Color Solidarity Network. And we are a grassroots collective that has been around since 2018. And we started with about $2,800 or $1,800. And since then, we've been able to give a little over $800,000 to trans women of color and trans folks of color in Washington State. And so that's really big, to be able to do. And really our goal with that project is to be able to be a financial safety net for trans women of color in our area. Yeah, and really just be there to provide low and no barrier funds. We found that, you know, even at the nonprofits that we worked at, that you know, folks are often having to do a song and dance and kind of regurgitate their trauma to get access to those funds. And we wanted to create, you know, something different than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, you just gave me a flashback of some of my old traumas. But so now you're and Tawaxin is the name of the organization.
Yeah, Trans
right?
Women of Color Solidarity Network, otherwise known as Tawaxin.
Just wanted to put that out there for the plug.
Absolutely.
So now, so how did you get started doing in the areas of taking Black Pride?
Yeah, so taking Black Pride started when we were just standing in the middle of the Chop Chaz area during the BLM protests. And we did not see space for the narratives and the experiences of Black trans people, right? We know that Black trans folks often experience state violence at 6 times the rate of cis folks, right? And so,
and if I can, 2020 was one of the highest mortality rates for Black trans women. Am I correct?
Yes. So yeah, absolutely. It was actually 2020, and then 2021 happened, and that ended up being one of the highest years as well. So we're, you know, in the midst of these protests, but also in the midst of just an epidemic of death by the hands of folks, oftentimes within our own communities. And so we definitely wanted to create a space where our experiences, our narratives, our joy, our grief would not be erased, and where we could talk about, you know, what's going on, you know, within our own communities in terms of state violence, where we could strategize, where we could be with community and find joy with community as well.
I love that, finding joy. And then keep in mind, like, so in 2020, 2021, how like, I mean, I seen the video, and of course I was there in attendance, but how did that feel kind of post-pandemic, getting out and participating in that event?
Yeah. So you're talking about the second year?
Yeah.
Second year. Ooh, I think I cried like a lot that time, like the second year, because I felt like I just hadn't, like I haven't seen so many people unless I was like at the grocery store. So it was amazing. It was exhausting. It was the hottest day of the year, you know, but I feel like with the controversy and everything, it had me definitely on edge, but it's different when it's the day of instead of like the day before, because I felt like we didn't know what we were going into. Like there was so much security. There was just so much talk about what was going to happen, and then nothing happened. So I feel like it was amazing, but also nerve-wracking. Yeah. So really, really happy as folks who'd seen the clips with the amount of security and the amount of folks that came and had our back. But yeah.
Absolutely. You know, we're going to talk about some other things in a minute, but I just, in my experience, like, it was the most welcoming experience that I've had, like coming out of the pandemic. I was over there with Lulu, and I got a health bath or a bath, and I was like, it was so spiritual. And I just never forget. And I also got me a massage. Shout out to the masseuse.
Yeah.
If you're watching, I remember you. But in the meantime, it was just such a great healing experience. And being a queer Black male, sometimes we don't realize our own privileges, and we don't take a step back to look at about what humility looks like. And I've seen what that looks like in that space. So I thank you. But you know, after we come back from this break, we're going to have to talk about something, and that's reparations. We'll be back. You're watching We Live in Color.
As a non-binary Black femme, a lot of my identity is rooted in body. Once the vaccine was introduced, it was really difficult to think in terms of safety as well as autonomy. As a Black American, the relationship with government is very complicated. It's hard to trust. A lot of these conspiracies are really impacting people making a decision, especially with Black folks, to be clear about what we're doing. I think it's just a well-rounded conversation to see what's best for us.
Hey guys, Besa Gordon here, and before heading to Belize, Trey Holiday and I had to make sure we linked up with our good friends over at Market Street Shoes to, of course, grab a few things for the trip. From bags to socks, shoes, sunglasses, earrings, and more. Before going on any trip, make sure you stop at Market Street Shoes. Trust me, you'll find just what you need to make your trip not only enjoyable, but fashionable.
And welcome back to We Live in Color. We actually have another special guest. Can I get your name and preferred pronoun, please?
Hi, I'm Lourdes, they, them pronouns.
Okay, nice to meet you, Lourdes. Now, before we get into another hot topic, Lourdes, tell me how you started doing this work.
Yeah, I also, like Maddie and Ivana, have a history of organizing, specifically doing a lot of work after I graduated from college with anti-violence work in the Asian and Pacifica community in Seattle, specifically through API Chaya. And I did a lot of work with their queer and trans program for survivors and supporting BIPOC queer and trans survivors.
Yeah.
And with that work, I was able to build a lot of connections and relationships in community. And also, I'm a co-founder of Trans Women of Color Solidarity Network,
Right.
which
Also known as Tawaxin.
And I feel so grateful. I've learned so much over the years, being able to organize specifically in Seattle, but also in very multiracial spaces where Black, Brown, and Indigenous folks are able to come together and think about the worlds that we want and actually create them. And I think Taking Black Pride is a really beautiful example of the ways that Black and Brown, queer and trans folks create worlds that we want.
Yeah. And what I also respect about that is demanding it, right? Not feeling that you have to isolate your own thoughts and your own, not only your identity, but also in your Blackness, also in your allyship, and it happens so much in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So, which also leads me to the next question.
Absolutely.
Because I'm a shade room fanatic, right? I don't watch Wendy Williams, but I love me some shade room stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I seen was Seattle was on the map because of Taking Black Pride, right? When they were asking. So I have to ask,
right.
Is it about reparations? What does that look like for us?
So I wrote notes on this. So
I'm ready for it. We're ready for it.
Yeah, I think, reparations was kind of the hot topic, right? I think that what we were trying to do, it was the second year that we were holding the event. The first year, it was crickets. No one really had a problem with it. We had tons of support. I think the second year, the moment that, Capitol Hill Pride said something about it, it kind of blew up with the response to their letter. And I think that really
not to cut you off, but can we reiterate what was said in that letter, if you don't mind?
Absolutely. I think they were just sharing that our event was discriminatory, that we were breaking all sorts of laws, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, the clapback was epic. From, I want to say it was the LGBTQ Commission. And we couldn't have asked for a better response from our community.
Shout out to the co-chair at that time, who was Deaunte Damper.
Yes. So it's a conversation that we really want to have with our community. I think that a lot of folks really aren't ready for that conversation. I think ultimately what we were trying to do by really being specific about using the word reparations is to highlight the personal responsibility of white folks in structural racism, right? And the benefits that they receive from being the beneficiaries of racism at the intersections of sexuality and gender identity. I think that one of the criticisms that we were getting specifically from our own community in terms of the Black community was that, we don't agree with what they're doing at the event. There should be, we should be focusing on state-funded reparations, right? And I think that while, expecting or wanting state reparations is a good idea, I also think that it completely absolves the responsibility of individual people, right? So we know that, the government isn't buying houses in the Central District and posting, Black Lives Matter signs are, right? We know that white folks are, right? We know that, there are things that are happening all around our city and our state that specific folks have personal responsibilities to either buy into or divest from, right? And what we see is that people are buying into those things, which is why, some of the structural racism and structural oppressions continue to be upheld, right? We know that the government isn't alone in voting for, policies that disenfranchise BIPOC folks of color and BIPOC trans and queer folks, right? We know that folks are voting people into office, right? And that we have a decision and a choice when we go to the ballot box to vote for initiatives and vote for policies that benefit certain communities or that don't benefit certain communities, right? And so I think that, again, one of the things that we really wanted to highlight is that sense of personal responsibility and the fact that, queer and trans BIPOC folks often don't get the same type of commercial funds that larger Pride celebrations get, right? And that really just kind of highlights more of the racism that folks hold, but also the internalized racism that folks hold, right? And that we were trying to community fund an event and immediately get accused of, what are they doing with that money? Well, we're throwing an event with it, right? And we also have a fiscal sponsor. So if folks really cared about the answers to their questions, right? Hit up the fiscal sponsor, right? I think that it takes a lot to throw an event like taking Black Pride, and it takes a lot to stand on your ideals, no matter what the backlash that you get.
Absolutely.
And that's what we chose to do. I think that it was the right thing to do. And if not us taking care of our community, then who?
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that I've realized, especially during months like this, right, in the challenges that have came, even watching our community members throw those type of stones, right? And I'm just going to look in the camera and say this, you can also have racial undertones if you are LGBTQIA. Okay.
Absolutely.
Let's
100%.
it's such a hurtful thing, right? Because it's like, well, what about us? Well, wait a minute.
Well, it's wild that you say that, because the most, the most horrible, vitriolic, horrible things that we heard from people were from white gay men. White gay men and BIPOC folks with white partners, which is interesting. Outside of the
that'll also be another discussion here on the show, but we'll talk about that later.
Outside of the right wing, whatever folks, but those are things that really, I don't want to say surprised us, but surprised us at the same time. You know what I mean? I was just like, what is going on right now? But I think ultimately, our hearts are in the right place. We really, deeply care about community. We don't get paid for this work. We spend a lot of our whole year planning And during that planning process, we're doing all of this labor for free, just to bring community this event. And I think that that's something that's like really important to highlight also, is that like we oftentimes work, you know, gosh, I don't know. Me and Ivana are up sometimes till 2, 3, 4 in the morning on top of our day jobs. And we don't get paid for that. So this is all, you know, labor that we're expending just to support and uplift and empower our community.
Yeah. Lourdes, what about you?
Yeah, thank you, Maddie. I think a lot about too with reparations when we were asking folks in the first few years, actually allies and accomplices, like we asked for a sliding scale, they paid even more, you know, for being in this space. We also asked folks when we were, like last year in particular, if folks could make space specifically for Black and Brown, queer and trans folks, you know, like just to be conscious of like the space that they take up, and people that wanted to be there or understood, like honored that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to highlight that too. I'm like, you know, like there were people that, wanted to show like up for the event and also acknowledge like the space that they were taking and it contributed to the fund without like resistance to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I just salute y'all for not only just the willpower, but the resiliency in that, right? Because it was post-pandemic. And honestly, I think that we didn't know what joy looked like, right? It was so hard to find the joy, you know, there was so many people. What I love so much is like with the Taking Black Pride event, these are my community members that are out there in the trenches, that are case managers, that are outreach people, that are like, we work engaging in community, building community with one another. And I think for the first time, like in a long time, with all the things that were impacting community, I just seen joy on everyone's face.
Absolutely. And I think that what you said about community building is really the center of the event, right? You know, we had HIV testing, we had self-defense kits, we had ways for folks to take care of themselves. We were, you know, making sure people didn't get heat stroke, frankly. You know, we were giving people the money that we received, you know.
You were out there throwing dollars.
We were, it was more than dollars. You know, we were giving people the money back. And, you know, I think that, you know, at the root of all of this, at the root of the reparations, at the root of the event itself, it's community. It's,
absolutely.
It's a deep respect and a deep love for, you know, for our community, and really wanting our community to have a space where they have physical and psychological safety, right? And with the reparations, we want people to invest in the space, knowing that that space is about physical and psychological safety of our community, right? And if people, you know, are not okay with that, then I feel like really folks aren't as progressive as they say that they are, right? I think that after, you know, this has been a year of attacks on the trans community, and I really feel like we deserve something that is ours, right? We deserve to be with each other and support each other and have fun with each other and celebrate each other. And so I don't see why anyone wouldn't want to support that.
And that right there is a word. We have one more break and we will come right back because we want to show y'all who we appreciate, who helps us live in color.
When COVID first hit, I was very afraid. There was so much things that I had to keep inside because I didn't know where to place my feelings. Most of my information for COVID is from my own research. I'm a doctor in educational leadership. And when the FDA approved Pfizer, it helped me realize that the vaccination is healthy. We don't want to be left behind because we're not taking the vaccine, but we want to get as much information as possible so that we are putting ourselves in better hands and not at great risk.
And we're back. Sorry, y'all. I had to move around a little bit. So this is my favorite part of the show. This is where we are able to acknowledge our community members who have helped us live in color. And I want to just give y'all an opportunity to discuss our community members. So go ahead, Lawrence. You can start first.
Oh, wow. I get emotional about this because our first year of taking Black Pride, this loved one, Constance Blakely, was in attendance and also supported us in creating it. And Constance was and continues to be, as a trans sister, a guiding light for us in our work. And I feel like we dedicate and commit ourselves to this joy because of her. And she's deeply missed, you know? Like, I know that she's really present, but we miss her so much. And I know she's here. And I feel like she was also one of our protectors last year when we were getting all these threats. We knew that if she was here, she would be responding and be that protector and loving presence, and continues to be for us. So we dedicate like a lot of this work, this joy, the dreaming that we're creating, to Constance.
Absolutely. Constance was our sister, you know, our little sister, but she had so much knowledge and wisdom to give, and she truly believed in the goals of taking Black Pride. She, you know, played a huge part in organizing the event the first year, and you know, from that year on, she passed in, I want to say 2001. And you know, we want to make her proud. We want to you know, memorialize her with this event because she's one of the reasons why this event exists also, right? She was also, you know, taking part in conversations about being erased from conversations about state violence, right? And she continues to be just really instrumental to driving our goals and our priorities, not just for taking Black Pride, but with Trans Women of Color Solidarity Network too, which she was also a core member of as well.
And just for the record, Constance helped me a lot when I was working for the correctional facilities in making sure that I understood, hey, trans women do not have access.
Mm-hmm.
They have to wait an extra 6 months. Deaunte, honey, pay attention to like how this is actually impacting our community. So we worked at Pocan temporarily with each other, but constantly up until the end, she was always advocating for people to show up. She didn't care how you did it. Mm-hmm. She wanted you to do it the right way.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then we to the next clip as well. And this is L. Who is this lovely gentleman?
Oh,
sorry.
LL. LL was just a fireball. They were so amazing. I remember when Fox had actually gave them support in buying a car, and I remember them calling me and being like, "Yay!" Like it was. They're just so amazing. Not only were they amazing, but they were intelligent. They were loving. They were kind. But they would tell you where to go in a moment if you cross them boundaries, and that's what I loved about them. They brought this like. I don't even know how to explain it, like this kind but direct presence to all of the relationships that I've seen them have and that I had with them. And it was just, yeah, they were amazing. They were a birth worker as well, and helped to found, I want to say it's QPOC Birthworks, Birthwork Project. And they were just deeply devoted to health equity for for BIPOC trans folks and queer folks, for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah. So LL, or also known as Lucia Leandro, was a dear community member and friend. And like Maddie said, did such beautiful work around birth work and making sure that queer and trans folks, especially trans folks, had access to reproductive rights and resources. They also had such a love for kids and families, specifically queer and trans parents. And as a parent myself, like they were always really supportive and always dreamed and involved our kiddos, you know, and like remember that kids and families and parents and the ways that queer and trans people create family, chosen family was all valid, and LL was just so missed. Also, they were so good at dressing, like their outfits were always so fly. Always the cutest shoes, the cutest outfit. Yeah, their heart and their energy is always felt, and I feel like they also were guiding us and protecting us last year too. Yeah.
LL and Constance, thank you for showing my community members how to show up and dress nice, but show up and be cute and show. But you know, because sometimes you got to do both. You know,
You do.
But as we sit here, we live in color, so very grateful for y'all to share that with our community members. If y'all don't mind, I'm going to share a couple people with y'all. So I lived in Pensacola, Florida before my community, before I was actually impacted with actually understanding my identity. And these women are the ones who I would like to thank here because I watched them go through so much. Moet Da Vinci, Amaya Glamazon, Ariana Bailey, and my girl, Miss Diamond Asajj Sherrington. When I was homeless, you housed me. When I didn't understand, when I needed to go get tested and didn't understand exactly what that looked like, you took me to go get tested. When I didn't have money to get into the club, you made sure I made it to the club. When I was going home with the wrong boy, you made sure I was going home with the wrong boy. When I was stealing out of Walmart, you had that rescue car for me. I don't forget those moments. And yeah, I'm here in Seattle, but I think about Pensacola often and think about how gorgeous you women were and watched and didn't really have enough humility within myself to understand your fight. But I see it now. So as I stand here with saying the show We Live in Color, you are a part of the colors of me, and I love you, all four of you. I haven't even talked to y'all in probably 2 to 3 years, but that love is still there. That A50 love is still there. So I thank you for teaching a young queer boy like me how to live in color. Okay, all right. So now we're gonna go to the events now. Okay, so this coming Saturday, I'm going to be hosting an event with my people up there in the space this Saturday from 7 to 11. We'll be putting some information out there on our blog to give y'all more information on that. We were going to have jazz singers. We're going to have a couple of comedians, and I'll be doing some comedy too. So there we go. Okay, good. So yes, so that's in the space, and we're going to be over there at 1313 4th Avenue in Seattle. So please look out for us because we're going to be in that piece, okay? So now it's your so can y'all ask community about let community know about what's happening June 25th? Sorry.
Absolutely. On June 25th, we are having Taking Black Pride again for the 3rd year in a row, this time at Seattle Center at the Mural Amphitheater. We have an amazing set of BIPOC vendors. We have amazing food for community, both food that is free and that you can pay for. We have amazing events for families, sponsored and hosted by families of color. Seattle, who has been really amazing at providing youth programming and programming for families at our events. And there'll be child-centered activities for everyone, which will be very cute. So it's a great time for the whole family. There'll absolutely be performances. And I think Ivana can say a little bit more about the performances. I guess not.
But we have a lot of them.
Yes.
A lot of them.
Yeah, so we have folks like Kid Ken, PP Cocaine, Miss Mojo. We
We
have
were born.
Yes, we were born. Virgo Husky. We have Milan Gianni. We have Paris Alexa. We have Nitty Scott from New York. Who else do we have? You guys think of anybody else?
Everybody but my
Oh,
mama.
we have Lucci,
Oh, I love
local
Lucci.
favorites also. We have Cutting Up, which is always a fan favorite, I think. We have Nyla Belladonna, who's a really amazing trans rapper out of Miami. We just have an amazing set of trans and queer performers, and we're really excited to be able to be in a position to bring all of that excellence to community and be able to soak in all the excellence of our community back.
And it's a great space for everyone to come show up. But
Totally.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the acts? Because we still need some donations, don't we? I know we need some donations.
We do need donations. I think, again, this event is not free. I think this year we're doing it big. We're at Seattle Center. We want to be able to accommodate everyone that that wants to come. And so community donations are a really big part of that, and a really big part of being able to keep the event completely free for our community. And so, if folks are looking to donate, that would be absolutely amazing.
And we appreciate that. So my brothers here at Converge and our community at Converge, O's out in Tanzania, but we want to make sure that you see us standing here because we're standing with you. And we're donating $250 to y'all, to the event, and want everyone else to do it too.
Absolutely.
And it's all about just making sure that we show up and authentically show up for everyone in this space. So we thank you and we see you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Y'all made me stand up. I usually don't even stand up. Proof, you want to say something? Proof's one of the hosts of our Tuesday show, which is Truth with Proof. It comes on Tuesdays.
Okay.
8:30 like clockwork, man. I commend you for being exactly who you are whenever you want to be. Sometimes everybody doesn't, want to be them. You look in the mirror and you being just yourself. I can respect and love that from anybody that can look in that mirror and say, yo, I'm exactly who I am. And I'm proud of that. So I really commend that.
Thank you so
and I
much.
appreciate it. Yeah, man. So,
That, yeah.
I love the energy, man. So why am I on the show?
Because I just want to prove to be a guest on my show real quick.
I do want to mention really
Absolutely.
quick, we're actually one of the only events like our event in the United States. While we were kind of planning for the event, we tried to look up other events around the United States to uplift as well. And we have found that a lot of them have, fizzled out due to lack of support and lack of funding, fizzled out due to mismanagement of, kind of city governments, trying to take over events that should be informed by community. And so that really kind of highlights, right, where we are in terms of pride, right? And in terms of who is able to celebrate pride, right? We often talk about, that Black trans women and Black and brown trans women are the root of pride, right? The reason why we celebrate pride, and we use them as figureheads, but we don't often support communities trying to create pride within their own communities like we're trying to do. And so in terms of donations, we're really looking for folks to really think about the roots of pride, and think about, why we celebrate pride, and really contribute to Black and brown BIPOC trans folks to be able to be safe in pride spaces, right? And be valued in pride spaces, and really be able to celebrate pride on our own terms. Yes.
Almost cussed on you. But yeah, that's real spill. That's what I'll say. I do want to make sure, I thank y'all so much for coming here today. It's so appreciated. And as I stated, this show would not be what it is until y'all told us, hey, learn what safe spaces look like, learn how to take accountability while you are in that safe space, and also live with Black joy. And that can go all around for everyone and pay them reparations. But in the meantime, I want to thank my guests for taking Black Pride. I want to thank the production team. Salman, thank you so much. Join us in the next 2 weeks. In the next 2 weeks, sorry, y'all. Our next guest will be Mila Sky / Sebastian. So it's going to be the love story of Sebastian and Mila. Thank y'all all for joining We Live in Color. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.